Have you ever felt like you are so done with your marriage, like it is just not worth it anymore? I sure have, and it feels awful. Today, we're talking about that terrifying feeling and looking at the signs that it might be the breakdown before the breakthrough to an extraordinary marriage. I'm Laura Doyle, New York Times bestselling author, and I was the perfect wife until I got married. I'm passionate about showing women how to make their marriages playful and passionate without their husband's conscious effort, even if it seems hopeless. This is the Empowered Wife podcast, where happy wives share exactly what we did and said to make our struggling marriages last and thrive. I want to learn a little something about you. If you've ever felt ready to call it quits in your marriage like I did, what was driving you over the edge? Comment below this video and let me know. Or if you're listening to the audio of this podcast, go to YouTube, search for Laura Doyle, and subscribe to the channel so you can join the conversation too. When my guest Sofia asked for a separation, her husband blew up and gave her just 2 days to move out. But when she began practicing the intimacy skills, their entire relationship changed. And he returned to the kind, sweet, caring, and gentle husband she married. She's going to tell us how she did it so you can do it too. Sofia, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you, Laura. I am so excited and ready to share my story with everyone who wants to hear it.
Awesome. Well, I for sure can't wait to hear the whole thing. So, and I'd love to start with the bad old days. What was going wrong? So tell us about that.
Mm, yes. So the battle days really started almost right off the bat when we moved in together. And I moved to Colombia. My husband's Colombian. So we had this whirlwind romance, like Latin romance. We met in a salsa bar. So you can just imagine, I'm dancing my way to love, thinking like, yep, it's gonna stay like this forever. It's perfect. We were one of the couples that got married out on Zoom during the pandemic. And then whirlwind to Bogota. And I find myself in this cold city. I'm thinking Colombia is also like, going to be tropical. I'm going to just get all the sunshine. And yeah, so I'm in this cold city. They call it the freezer of Colombia. I have no friends, no family. And I'm just realizing like, oh, maybe I made a giant mistake. And it all started with that, just the self-doubt that started creeping in with the move and living together. Oh, I also didn't have a job. Little detail. So I was like hyper focused on what my husband was doing. I was just like, so what you up to? Yeah, I'm your life and your love and your everything. Like now you're working now. And so I just started criticizing like immediately. It's just, okay, you're working too much. Your clothes are ugly. Like, what is that hat? What is that haircut? I decided to do Marie Kondo like right when I moved in.
Yeah.
We're all familiar with that. We've all done that, right? Like,
Yeah.
pull away all of your stuff and justify it. And of course, it wasn't like what sparked him joy, it was what I hated, needed to go. So we could rebuild this new life together. And now we joke about it because we're like, oh, where's the vacuum cleaner? Oh, Marie Kondo took it.
So he threw away a lot of his stuff, it sounds like.
Yeah, I think like all his stuff, all his books. Like you're never gonna read this. I just don't know how he didn't throw me out of his house because I came and stayed in his apartment. And then there's this small detail of he has a daughter, and when I moved in, she was 3 years old. And I just remember feeling like why is he now showing her all this love and attention? And why am I just felt like trash to him. Like, what? I used to be your special human, and now this little special human is here, and you're hugging her, you're giving her like kisses on the forehead, and she's your everything. So I had like major bouts of jealousy, and I just felt like I was gonna explode, And I was like, it's ridiculous to hate on a little girl. There was a lot of self-hatred too, like, and all of this, I was living very by myself, right? I wasn't sharing this with anyone. I didn't have a community. And so I felt super alone. Um, and then we get to the fun part where I had a State of the Union and said, I don't want to think about anyone. Besides myself. I sat him down and was like, I don't want to consider anyone else in my decisions because I felt like, because I was so controlling, he reflected that. And there I felt controlled and I felt trapped and I felt like he won't let me wear what I want. I wanted to go to this erotic reading party or whatever with friends and like let me do all these things that I used to do. I just felt like I lost my identity and I felt like he was taking it away from me. So I blamed him and I said, I don't want to do this. And he said, that sounds like you don't want to be in a relationship anymore if you don't want to make decisions with anyone else. And I was like, yeah, I think you're right. I don't want to be in a relationship. I want to travel the world. I want to do all these things. And this is just getting in my way. Like I just looked at it like, this is the thing that's getting in my way of my dreams and my freedom. So I need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
That conversation did not go well.
Yeah.
Yeah, as we can imagine, that was when he just blew up and said, well, you have 2 days. Either you leave or I will leave. And when I come back, you'd better be gone. Oof. And I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know what I expected.
Yeah.
Right. So I was there like, okay, I'm gonna pack my stuff. And it just like fight or flight mode. I packed all my stuff. I said, I'm not gonna go anywhere, but I was ready. And he packed the bag and he went and stayed in a hotel somewhere. I still don't know where he went. And I was at home by myself in this apartment. And that's when that was the dark old days.
It sounds really scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember just I didn't leave the house. Uh, I stayed like that for a week. We didn't see each other. We didn't talk for a week. Uh and I just didn't talk to anyone. Like I turned my phone off. I think people were probably freaking out. They were probably really worried if I was okay. But I just shut down. I was like, I can't talk to anyone. If a friend reached out, I I didn't know about it. If a family member, I didn't know about it. All I did was eat, sleep, and meditate and pray and read poetry, read through me. It's just like existential crisis. And cry. I cried so much that week. I think I got way dehydrated, just constant headaches. But I like just waking up as well. Like I just don't feel worthy. I just don't feel worthy of this relationship, and I want to escape. I want to easy out, and I'm grateful that those insights came to me because I feel like that kind of saved me from doing anything that would have long-term consequences that I would then regret. And I just thought maybe I want to stay in it. Maybe I want to learn how to be worthy of love because I really do love this person. Do I really want to go to Nepal? Do I want to go to the Himalayas by myself? No, I don't have real plans. Yeah. All the plans were fantasies. It was fantasies of escaping. And so that was one crisis that we worked through because of that, like my own revelation, and we reconciled that. But things didn't really get better, and that's the weird part. Is like we had this moment of reconnection and love, and hey, we're in this together. We got this. We got over the big crisis. But then it was just like crises after crisis. Like it was Cold Wars. I mean, I'm sure like I just hurt him to the depths of his being, and there was just no trust. And so it was control. It was, I mean, we just like couldn't stand each other. We were like those couples that just fight all the time in public. Like it didn't matter where we were. We were just at it. We would go on vacations and we just like hated each other. I just remember thinking like, I hate you, hate you. And that was like, oh my gosh, what do I do with these feelings? You know? And then we just started hurting each other like intentionally. And he went out with this friend from high school, this person, and they went out and had dinner and went out for drinks and went and listened to live music. And that day, uh, I was debating on whether or not I would share this, but I kicked him. I literally walked through the door and kicked him in the shin. And that was probably like one of my least dignified moments. Just felt like so out of control, and so upset that this was my life. And then I was invited to a wedding in Hawaii with all my friends, and I go, perfect. I just need friend time. I need my girls. I need to escape this. And so I told him, I said, I want to go to Hawaii. My best friend is getting married, and you can come, but I just I won't pay attention to you. I will be with my friends. So it's like this, I don't even know what to call it. What would you even call that, Laura?
Well, it sounds like you were really hurt people hurt, right? So I think you were trying to, I mean, kicking him in the shins was really you saying like, yeah, I'm so scared, I feel rejected. Um, and then yeah, it sounds like you didn't know what to do except to hurt him back. Is it is that right?
Yeah. And I think I was also embarrassed. I was like, I don't want, I think I had some of the syndrome of I married a loser pants, like you and like all of us, like I just effed this up and I'm so embarrassed because I'm the first friend of my friend group to get married. And I was always the one that said I would never get married. I bet my brother $1 million, which I lost that. I'm still saving up to pay him.
Very expensive bet. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I was like the anti-marriage friend. And so I got married and I just said, man, if I go to this wedding with him and they see the state of things, it will just be so embarrassing. Yeah. So I went. I went to Hawaii by myself.
wow.
It was so healing to be with my friends, and it was just solely focused on friendship, which is, what my soul was needing at the time. But at the same time, it just caused this huge hurt in the relationship and it just caused so much collateral damage. So when I got back, of course, it was just Cold Wars and silence and evasion, and there was just zero intimacy. It was like, and I was like, I did nothing wrong. I was like, I felt like such a victim of, hey, this was a life-changing trip for me. Like, how could you not be happy? Why are you mad? I got mad. He was mad. And of course, things kept on like that for a couple of months. And that's when I started Googling how to get divorced in Colorado, because we got married in Colorado, not in Colombia. So I just said, I need to get out, I was just with friends in Hawaii. I can live my best life by myself. And again, he the win. Yeah. Again, same thing. Like he's the block to my freedom. It was just like so in my head that he was a block to my freedom. And he found my computer with that just like open.
Oh.
And he took off his ring. And I just remember going, like, again, it's like I freaked out. I was like, yeah, like we're too far gone. There's not much changing.
You're right on the edge. It's like this marriage is about to blow up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 And we just stopped. I remember both of us just crying, thinking it's over. And we didn't talk for a few days. And then, I got some mentorship from an older woman that I trust and is very aligned with the skills now that I understand the skills. Um, and she said, you're in the middle of a storm. Don't make any decisions and don't say, you know. And so that was my first experience with duct tape. I just kind of rode the storm and didn't freak out when he was saying things like, you want to leave this relationship, so just rip off the Band-Aid. Just get it done now. I don't want long hurt. I don't want this to go on for years and we just keep hurting each other. And he said, go. You want to be free? Go. Go travel the world. And that's when I was like, man, this guy really loves me and he really wants my freedom. Like, okay, maybe I didn't marry a loser pants. Maybe there's something there. And so I think from that day forward, I kind of again switched, like the light switch went on. But as we all know, this is a circle. We go in circles and we come back. And so the last episode of the Bad Old Days, and I know they're in my past, like that's the last episode, is the day that I got diagnosed with anxiety and depression. Was just leaving voice messages to myself to keep sanity and like sobbing, just me with me of I'm just miserable. Like I'm miserable. And I just realized my level of misery, like it's mine, it's not his, it's mine. So I need to figure out what to do for me. And that's when things changed when I stopped focusing on the relationship and it was like, I need to be okay.
Wow, you got on your paper all of a sudden. Like right? You kind of well, and you kind of set us up, right? You're in Bogota with no friends and family or job or social. I mean, that's like it was tough to take care of yourself, to make yourself happy there in a way, and it's freezing. So it's kind of predictable in a way that you'd end up with some depression and anxiety out of that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like it doesn't feel like it's the answer. It feels like because they wanted to put me on medication and and I was like, man, I think I need to take care of myself. Like I need to get serious about self-care. And I left myself like 11 chronicles, 11 little podcasts and just of my own journey with figuring out my mental health and I started exercising and training and things started shifting and I saw my happiness levels go up and then I started listening to more podcasts and Kelly Brogan's podcast came up with you. And I follow Kelly because she's like the psychiatrist that went public stripping pole dancing. I was like, she's like the essence of freedom and like what I strap. And I was like, what? Kelly just posted a podcast called The Surrendered Wife? Like, I was like, I think like something went wrong. Typo. Look, I was just confused, but because I trust Kelly, I said, I'm going to listen to this podcast. Oh, man. Oh, man, that was rough. I just sobbed through the whole episode going, oh, no, I didn't know. I didn't know. I really didn't know. And I didn't have the skills. And when everything was falling apart, and I finally let my family see a glimpse of the crisis because I had to call my sister and say, can you help me look for an Airbnb? Like I need somewhere to live. Um, they kind of figured out something was going wrong. And my mom actually had a dream about it that I was saying, this is the end. That I was in crisis. She called me just kind of panicking and saying, I know you're overwhelmed, but you just don't have the skills. You don't have the skills. She wasn't talking about your skills because she didn't know what, but she knew that it was just a lack of skill. And I had always intuitively told my friends when I was complaining all the time, I was like, I have no capacity. I have zero capacity. Um, and I don't know what to do. Like, it doesn't feel right to go. It doesn't feel right to stay. But I have zero capacity. So when you presented these skills, I was like, oh, I could learn this. I could change my relationship and be treasured and cared for and feel attraction again because all of that had, been gone, like zero attraction towards my husband. I just felt like he was my dad. It was like he's just trying to criticize and control me and bring me down. Like, I feel zero attraction towards you. And I even told him that one day. It's like, I don't feel anything. So yeah, just hurt on top of hurt until I read the books.
You're so accountable in the telling of this. And it's interesting to hear like you had an experience with duct tape, just writing out the storm, right? You're going to just not make any decisions. And you had an experience of doing self-care, of making yourself happy. So you were getting the skills in little drips and drabs, without realizing it, right? And then, and also you were vulnerable with your husband when you had the insight that you realized you just didn't feel worthy, and that was part of why you wanted freedom to get away, was because it was feeling uncomfortable to be so loved, and that loser pants kind of came out of that, right? That it was like it felt so uncomfortable. So anyway, I mean, yeah, vulnerability, duct tape, self care, and now you've discovered there are these intimacy skills, and you can just learn them. So what did you start doing differently than what you had been doing?
Mm, yeah, it's an understatement to say everything. I mean,
That's a lot. That's a lot, Sophia.
uh, well, the self-care I took so seriously, and I went and tried to find a good therapist, and I understood that for me, a good therapist was a music therapist, someone that would put me to sing and create music because I'm a music lover and a singer-songwriter. And so I had to cycle through various people to find someone that fit for me. And that would also help me with my intention of, I said, I want to learn how to stay, and feel safe. And
Oh,
yes, because I realized it's not just with my husband. And so everything I've always, like Sophia from little, has been every time something gets hard, she goes to another country and another country and another country and another, well, it's a habit pattern. And I realized that, like, okay, I want to learn how to stay and feel safe.
Wow.
And
Love
she
that.
has helped me. And I still am working with her today because there's always new fun challenges. And
Wow. So she's a music therapist. So it's not just sitting on a couch and talking about your childhood, it sounds like.
no, not at all. And I told her, because we tried counseling, I tried various therapies that did put me in that position of just talking. And to no surprise, it didn't work out.
It didn't help. Okay.
No. And I knew I wanted something somatic, like body focused. Like I want to focus inwards and feel, because I don't feel, you know, and I need to feel again. And so I knew that music would help me get there. So I think that was key. Um,
Yeah.
and I think waking up to respect and understanding what respect means for a man, and that full wars are not him disrespecting me. I always thought it was like such huge disrespect, like his silence. And I called him all the names. I was like, he's a narcissist, he's stonewalling, he is gaslighting. Um, and the funniest moment was when he said, I was looking at Instagram, all the things that a narcissist, like all the boxes they tick, and you tick a lot of them. And here I am thinking he's a narcissist. And we just cracked up, in that moment of, what? This is ridiculous. Um, yeah, so respect was huge.
So, so he thought you were a narcissist. You thought he was a narcissist. You guys were checking all the boxes. Yeah. And then, okay. And so then you learn what respect looks like to a man. And then what did you say or do differently?
Well, this has definitely taken a lot of apologies, because I tend to not use the duct tape and naturally just express my opinion, or what you should do, uh, or what we need to do, like needs. There are no desires here. Like I need it.
We need, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like understanding all those little subtle ways of disrespect, and then that I can also apologize for those, because I'm learning. I'm still learning. I like how you call them skills, because there's something that you do. You don't just learn them and they're like in your body now.
You're done. Yeah.
You're fine. You graduated. Check.
Yeah. 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 So it sounds like you did apologize for previous disrespect. Like,
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. And understanding my role in the breakdown was so key. I just one situation I was in, because I'm an artist, I was invited to sing at this erotic lecture series, and I was so excited, and I said yes, and he supported me, like, yes, go for your music. And so I went and I sang, and then they did all their, fun erotic games or whatever. I was just there to sing, but someone handed me a whip, and they said, who wants to be whipped by Sofia? And I'm in this moment and I go, okay, I'm now whipping someone. And it is on Instagram. And I get home and don't tell my husband about it. And of course, he sees it on Instagram. And so that's like, that was the detonate. I don't know how to say it. That was the trigger for a lot of just the breakdown and the trust, because I refused to apologize. I refused to apologize for that. I just felt like I did nothing wrong. I was the victim of the situation, if anything. Again, you need to deal with your own emotions, like get it together, because I'm totally innocent. And so that arrogance caused a 2-week Cold War where he just did not speak to me. And again, I got even more mad because I was like, what disrespect.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
else apologizing to do from the beginning. As you can
Wow. Wow. Again, I'm just so blown away by the way you tell this story is so accountable. You're really telling it from a perspective of like you have your new perspectacles on about how, yeah, how you contributed to that breakdown. And it sounds like it was you weren't able to see that at the time. But now looking back, I just hear so much humility and accountability and that apology. So, and a 2-week Cold War sounds really painful. I mean, that sounds awful. But it sounds like you were able. I mean, how did it go when you apologized for that?
Yeah. Um, there's just been this receptivity and grace for any apology that has to do with something that I didn't know before, and the Laura Doyle apology, like when I was disrespectful. I apologize for when I was disrespectful, not if.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there were a lot of ifs in the past. Like,
Yeah,
if you're something wrong, like, I don't know, but you seem to be upset about.
yeah. I apologize if you are upset. Yeah, yeah, right. As opposed to when I was disrespectful. I mean, it's a lot more painful to say when I was disrespectful, than if you are upset or if you feel disrespected. So that's a big deal. I mean, that's a big moment when you decide to empower yourself that way. So that's pretty cool.
It brought back a lot of the honeymoon like qualities that, you know, my husband is so generous. And I think you said that, like, our husbands are so generous. And I just didn't believe that. I was like, man, my husband.
Not mine. Right. Yeah.
My husband won't let me use candles in the house because he's such a control freak. And one time I burned the ceiling, so we banned candles. Like, that was my, like, thing in my head. And with the skills, I have to say one of my huge wins at the beginning was we get out of IKEA, and I didn't even see when he did this, but he escaped to go buy me a candle and he just handed it to me with no words.
Oh, so sweet.
Like, it just represents, like, there's that trust. Um, he doesn't want to control me either. Like, he
And he
doesn't.
wants you to be happy. He knows you love candles and he wanted to give you
Yeah,
bring you joy. Yeah. 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 Sweet.
really wants me to be happy. And I used to think, like, he was the thing getting in the way of my dreams, and traveling and music specifically were the two big ones. And now I have my album coming out because for the past, like, since the skill, things have been so stable and healthy and wonderful that I have the capacity. Look, my capacity is just expanded, that I was able to find a producer and figure out how to do an album, just finally able to focus in on what I want to do. And he has been there through every detail and just so helpful. So I'm like, oh, you weren't the thing that was in the way.
Oh, he's been standing for your greatness and supporting you and making it all possible, it sounds like.
100% making it possible. 100%.
Yeah. And you've been feeling loved throughout, which I feel like gives you superpowers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Feeling love, giving superpowers and confidence, and I feel like this expansion personally, in work, in relationships, and, like, the skills trickle out, if that makes sense.
Sure. Because you're showing up with skills wherever you go, probably. I'm guessing.
So yeah, for sure. And one thing I want to mention is that in my little podcast that I did for myself when I was super struggling, one thing I kept repeating was, I'm so alone. I'm so alone. I can't do this alone. And that was an insight to, I need community. I desire to be in a community of people that lift me up and stand for my marriage. And I joined. So I did the skills at first by myself, just like with my full arrogance of, I could do this by myself. Everyone else might need a community, but I got this. Um, and I just realized, man, I'm just messing up time and time again. After the little honeymoon phase was a dip of, man, I'm not quite getting it. Like, what are my blind spots? And I can't ask my husband what are my blind spots. So, um, so I figured I would join the Ridiculously Happy Wife group, which is a group where you can do group coaching. And that has been, so helpful because I receive group coaching and it's like, okay, unveiling of what's going on, where my blind spots are, and also seeing other women get coached and feeling like, oh, we need this. We really do need this. It's not a luxury for me right now.
Yeah, boy, I relate to you so much. Like a felt need. Doesn't feel like a luxury. It just feels like oxygen or something to have community. Yeah, I love that, Sophia. Wow. So what is your marriage like now?
Mm. Well, last weekend, my husband surprised me with a early birthday trip. I expressed in a desire that I want to go out of the city and just be totally spoiled for a weekend before my birthday. So he planned everything. Like he literally essentially like kidnapped me. I had no idea. I was like, what do I pack? Whatever. Took me in a taxi 45 minutes out of the city at this beautiful thermal spa. We spent the whole weekend there and just spoiled me like none other. Like got this gluten-free cake for me and sang karaoke. We went to a karaoke bar and he has major fear of singing in front of people. And he sang a salsa song in front of people dedicated to me. And I was like, what? What is this level? I don't know if he just did all this he knew the podcast was coming. I'm kidding.
It's like, what will she be able to brag about when she goes on that podcast?
I was thinking about the podcast. I was like, man, yes. Like, oh, we got something to share because I just feel like it's such a loving relationship and it's romantic and I feel so much attraction. Like, definitely HR in my life.
It sounds like he knows about the skills and stuff. Or how much does he know about what you're doing?
So at first it was like, I didn't say a word for probably 4 months. And then just little by little, I'm practicing these skills and uh, and he like loves it. Every time he's like, yeah, it's just totally like, yes, I agree, blah, blah, blah. And I just listen. Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, cute. Oh, wow. So the guy you fell in love with is back, it sounds like.
Yes, he's back. He's back, and our romance is alive. And the way it's impacted also my relationship to his daughter and our intimacy and our closeness has been drastic. Yeah, in a short period of time. So that is just wild. It's like, wow. It's also creating safety for this small human being that's between houses, right? Because her mom lives here and, every 15 days she's with us. And that's hard in itself, let alone dealing with Sophia's crises. I mean, now it's like she's also safe. And she also counts on me, and you can tell that she opens up a lot more with me than in the bad old days when I would just close up, didn't want to be with anyone, didn't want to share, didn't want to be with her. And now we're like besties. You see her and I, and we do things like by ourselves together. We're like hanging out.
Wow. Wow. So it's really shifted your whole family dynamic at your house. It sounds like, and this was your desire to learn to feel safe and stay. And it sounds like you're living your dream,
Yeah, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of my.
right? And what about the anxiety and depression?
Thank you for asking. Doesn't exist, and I do not take medication.
Really? You
Yeah,
heal your own anxiety and depression.
yeah, yeah, and it's such a mixture of all these things, right? I don't want to say it's one thing. It was the self-care. It was the gratitude. Gratitude changes your brain. It was the ability to receive, it was the respect, and the new intimacy with my husband. But I think what I've realized is the depression and anxiety were symptoms of a non-functional relationship, personal life. And that it just kind of naturally, the symptoms went away. Like when you heal your gut and your skin health gets better or something like that, like get to the root cause of what problem is. And I think the root cause of those issues, a lot of them had to do with the dysfunction and the breakdown in my relationship. And the dysfunction and the breakdown in my relationship had a lot to do with my not understanding of the skills. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. I mean, that's a big accomplishment, right? Because there's a lot of people all over the world taking medicine for anxiety and depression or getting treatment for it and not knowing how to heal themselves. And if it sounds like that's a big triumph as well. So, yeah, amazing. What is it? What would you say to someone who is where you were, who just feels like she got tricked, she married a loser pants, she made a mistake, he's keeping her from being happy and doing the things that she really loves to do. And she wants what you have now, where she gets swept away if, for the weekend for her birthday, gets the gluten-free cake and, yeah, just like, and she wants to feel, yeah, the loving connection that you have with your stepdaughter now. What would you say to her? What's your best tip?
Um, you can learn what to do. You can learn the skills. Anyone can learn the skills. And the skills will lead you to what you most desire and way more.
Wow, that's awesome. That's like wisdom bomb right there. So I love that. You can learn. And what do you think you would say to Sophia if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
I'd say thank you. Thank you for not giving up because there were so many moments that you could have thrown in the towel, walked away, done what you did best in the past, and restarted. But thank you for not doing that because now you've just unlocked this superpower that is a lifelong road to abundance and happiness and wellness and everything you want. Like, yes, you've done it.
Wow. So it really was the breakdown before the breakthrough for you.
Yeah. For me, it was exactly that. It was all of this, and this was like a 2-year breakdown. All of this breakdown was leading to this moment. And it couldn't have been any other way because of my stubbornness, unfortunately. But I'm so glad that that podcast came out and I just listened to it. and said, "Who is this Laura Doyle? Sounds like she has something to say."
Wow, I love that. And what about the insight you had at the beginning about not feeling deserving of love?
Oh, ooh. Well, I realized I was on the fence in my relationship, uh, and how painful that was for me and for him. And it was all due to that root of not feeling deserving. And I think that with all of the inner work that I've been doing and the self-care, like there's so much love in this process. And that's why even when I get a skill wrong or, kind of mess it up a little bit and have to apologize and get to apologize, then it just feels like a loving process, and that I'm worthy. And that's one of the things I just feel so confident in. Like, I'm so worthy of this love. And, we'll say that to each other. Like, my husband and I will be like, "I deserve you." And he'll say, "I deserve you." We love each other so much.
Wow, I'm just really struck by the split screen of you both calling each other narcissists, and to now, like, I deserve you. This is awesome. Right? You're amazing. So, well, I just have to congratulate you and give you my Best Wife Award, Sophia. You richly deserve this for your enormous vulnerability, openness, and commitment to practicing the intimacy skills to make your marriage fantastic and your whole family, and to and also for, I feel like, the love you're bringing to the world now, having healed yourself of the anxiety and the depression and unworthiness. I just want to congratulate you on being the best wife.
Ah, thank you. I want to dedicate the Best Wife Award. I want to split it in half.
Okay.
Yeah, to my grandparents, my grandma especially, who passed 2 years ago, and she and my grandpa were married over 55 years, and just the most loving, respectful, and playful marriage that I think anyone has seen. They would make videos of them dancing together and send it to us on anniversaries. Just so much playfulness and fun. And I could really see how much she respected my grandpa. And so I think, and she had hinted the skills to me, about receiving and not criticizing. She's like, those are the two keys. But I wasn't ready to receive that. So I just want to thank her, Mimi.
How
And thank
cool.
you for translating the skills into something actionable that anyone can understand and put into practice.
Gosh. That's so great. Well, I am so glad we found each other, and I am inspired getting to hear about the transformation at your house and just in you, and certainly, yeah, shout out to your husband too for his enthusiasm for the skills too. So
Yeah, get him on the man panel.
yeah, you can be on the panel. Oh, thank you so much for sharing your story and doing it so vulnerably and accountably. It was just a pleasure to get to hear.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed hearing the real life story of how Sofia made her struggling marriage playful and passionate again, subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. On next week's podcast, I'm going to share the 4 self-care activities that all women need to feel desired, taken care of, and special. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that our stationery store moved. For more on how to make your marriage playful and passionate without his conscious effort, even if it seems hopeless right now, check this out.